When we think of ancient structures in the UK, images of the fabled Stonehenge spring to mind. While the ring-shaped arrangement of megaliths weighing several tons each is undoubtedly one of the most famous buildings of the past, we quickly forget that there are countless other stories from days long past that astonish us in the British Isles. Today, we'll be covering several other unique and remarkable monuments that have been forgotten to time. But before we get started, be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more videos. And stick around for number 3 if you want to have your mind completely blown. Seahenge. The United Kingdom is now adorned with all sorts of traces of the past. The different peoples and cultures that have inhabited the islands over the centuries have always left their own sites and artifacts behind, some of which have successfully withstood the ravages of time over thousands of years. This is also the case with the so-called Seahenge. To put it plainly, Seahenge is the wet counterpart to the world-famous Stonehenge, but with a huge difference. In fact, the structure, located on the coast of the English county of Norfolk, was not made of solid rock, but of wood. In total, Seahenge consisted of 55 circularly arranged oak trunks, which were arranged around an upside-down oak stump in the middle. As it would turn out, we've only known of the existence of this ancient monument since 1998. It was then that local resident John Lorimer came across a Bronze Age axe. In view of his sensational discovery, the British thought that the stumps of wood that had long peeked out of the sand could also come from the distant past of mankind. So it came about that several archaeologists were called in to investigate the mystery. In order to be able to examine the site in full, the decision was made to excavate the remaining wooden stumps. Two aspects in particular served as the central motivation for this decision. On the one hand, the oak trunks no longer had their protective peat moss cover at this point. The influence of the salty seawater and the regular ebb and flow of nature ultimately led to the decay of the ancient monument. In addition, the archaeologists feared that the discovery of Seahenge could lead to a large tourist rush. Thus, those responsible saw the protection of the building as not compatible with the constant visits of onlookers. Although many residents campaigned for Seahenge to be left in its ancestral location, the experts began the excavation work in May 1999. The logs were then placed in the Flag Fen Archaeological Museum, where they were examined and treated. After a few years, voices were raised again, calling for Seahenge to be brought back to the place where it was found. Those responsible for the excavation, however, preferred to store the pieces of wood in the Lynn Museum, where some parts of the structure can still be viewed today. But after all this time, how much do we really know about this strange monument now known as Seahenge? The experts are certain that the formation was made from oak logs in the early Bronze Age. The age of the components could be dated to around 4,070 years. However, some of the pottery fragments recovered there were of a significantly younger age, which suggests that the facility was used until the late Bronze Age. Although the archaeological site is often referred to as Seahenge, the term is actually incorrect. Strictly speaking, it's not actually a henge, better known as an earth wall that's bordered by a ditch. Plant discoveries like Seahenge are referred to as timber circles in the professional world. For this reason, the structure is not officially called Seahenge, but Home 1 in the ranks of the experts. While the complex was already surrounded by the sea at the time of its discovery, in the early Bronze Age there was still marshland that surrounded the area, which was protected from the ocean by the surrounding dunes. As a result of climate changes that have occurred over thousands of years, the natural surroundings of Seahenge became more and more humid, which ultimately resulted in a much different landscape. The deposits of plant residues in turn formed a protective layer of peat around the oak trunks, which prevented the wood from decaying in a natural way. To put it plainly, this helped to preserve the wood and protect it from the elements for all these years, leading to its rediscovery in the 1990s. After the surrounding dunes had migrated further and further inland, the corresponding layers of peat were gradually removed by storms and the tides until the actual structure finally saw the light of day again, thousands of years after it had been buried. The reason why such a strange structure would have been built has never been fully determined. However, it's considered likely that the site was used for religious or cultural ceremonies, though use for astronomical purposes is still also possible. The focal point of the structure, the upside-down oak stump, shows that the complex was of exceptional importance in the life of the local people of that time. According to some theorists, the upside-down tree stump may have served as a symbol of the underworld. However, even with this idea, we don't know what the locals would have specifically done here in terms of ceremonies or rituals. In the past, there have also been experts suggesting that so-called decorations were taking place there. This would have been a special burial ritual during which all soft tissues were removed from the deceased. In the professional world, however, the use of Seahenge for such purposes is highly controversial. At the end of it all, the discovery of Seahenge was remarkable. Even without knowing what the location would have been used for, experts are over the moon that such a discovery took place. As years pass by, it's likely that we'll continue to learn more about this strange monument. However, for the moment, all we had are the best guesses from experts as they try to solve this bizarre mystery. Unidentified dinosaur species. As is well known, it wasn't just humans who inhabited what is now the United Kingdom in the past. In the Cretaceous period, which scientists claim to be 115 million years ago, there was also an impressive species of dinosaur which we knew nothing about until a few months ago. The ancient dinosaur bones were discovered on the Isle of Wight, an island off the south coast of Britain. The scientists gave the ancient lizard a generic name that means something along the lines of air-filled hunter of the Isle of Wight, which alludes to the place where it was found and the hollow vertebrae of the dinosaur. The impressive bone structure also suggests that the carnivore belonged to the theropod dinosaur family and was thus a relative of the T-Rex. A full-grown representative of this species could probably be 4 meters long. It may seem crazy that we're still discovering new dinosaurs in 2021, but it's the truth. While we like to pretend that we know everything there is to know about our natural world and its mysterious past, the truth is, we've just begun to scratch the surface when it comes to the Earth's history. Sutton Hoo Silver Treasure. Near the English city of Suffolk is one of the country's most exciting archaeological sites, Sutton Hoo. More specifically, the complex is peppered with many burial mounds, one of which hit the headlines in 1939. At the request of the landowner at the time, the site was scheduled to be professionally inspected and excavated. Just a few weeks after the work had started, those responsible recorded a real mystery that they could not explain. In the excavating area, they uncovered a sunken ship's final resting place. After bringing it to the surface, the wooden ship was found to be an incredible 27 meters long. Although the majority of the ship was already rotten by this time, the experts succeeded in reconstructing the impressive dimensions of the object based on the prints that had been left in the sand and the salvaged iron rivets. Inside the ship's cavity was a burial chamber made of wood. The equally valuable and innumerable graveside goods were in remarkably good condition at the time of their discovery. In fact, the Sutton Hoo Silver Hoard is still one of the greatest buried treasures ever found in England. More specifically, the treasures consisted of gold jewelry, coins, an iron helmet, a shield, pieces of textile, and the fragments of a sword. What makes the treasures so special in the end, however, are the 16 unique silver objects. The Anastasius plate, for example, has a considerable diameter of more than 70 centimeters. The ribbed silver basin, the 2 silver spoons, and the 10 dome bowls were also to hit archaeological headlines shortly after their discovery. However, it's still not been possible to prove beyond doubt who received this elaborate burial ceremony. In view of the highly valuable gifts and the sheer size of the tomb, however, it seems reasonable to conclude that the deceased was an influential member of a royal dynasty. With the help of the rings found, the construction of the ship's grave could be dated to the first quarter of the 7th century. Therefore, many experts are absolutely convinced that this is the last resting place of King Radwald of East Anglia. However, some other researchers debate this theory and don't believe this to be true. However, while some of the last dowries reflect pagan customs, the silver objects in particular allow conclusions to be drawn about Christian rites. Indeed, King Radwald was known for cultivating both Christian and pagan traditions. In addition, the surviving period of death of the ruler coincides exactly with the reconstructed age of the grave. With this in mind, many people are convinced that this could in reality be the former king's final resting place. However, for skeptics, they believe that his grave is still yet to be discovered. At the end of it all, we don't really know for sure whose grave this truly is, though if it is in fact the grave of King Radwald, then experts may have solved yet another historical mystery that has plagued their minds for many decades. Wittenham Clumps. At first glance, the Wittenham Clumps near the village of Little Wittenham appear to be nothing more than a tranquil range of hills that blend perfectly into the green landscape of the surrounding area. However, some archaeological investigations have revealed that the natural elevations had a completely different shape in the past. The excavations prove that the so-called Castle Hill was adorned with a large fortification structure during the Bronze Age. During the Iron Age, the site was finally expanded so that dozens of roundhouses and even a large Roman villa were built here over the decades. This location would have been heavily guarded to protect those that lived here. However, as time has passed by over hundreds of years, there's virtually nothing left of this once highly guarded village. Hadrian's Wall. If you want to get an authentic idea of how far the arm of the mighty Roman Empire once reached, you should take a look at the impressive Hadrian's Wall near the Scottish-English border. Erected between the years 122 and 128 AD, the wall extended over a considerable length of around 117.5 kilometers. What at first glance looks like an effective protective device against enemy attackers actually served a completely different purpose. With the help of Hadrian's Wall, above all, the movement of people and trade would have been monitored and channeled. Many exciting Roman archaeological sites can still be found in the immediate vicinity of the complex. A former soldiers' settlement was found about 1.6 kilometers south of Hadrian's Wall. In addition to accommodation, the village also included shops, a bathhouse, and a tavern. When you really think about it, it's truly a tragedy that so many of these historical locations have been left in shambles. Obviously, as time passed by, humans were forced to adapt in order to overcome new threats that put their lives in danger. Thus, countless former settlements were abandoned and left to decay. It's taken us thousands of years to reconstruct history as a result. This means that there may still be hundreds of undiscovered locations that will pop up in the future, helping us to once again bring resolution to many of the mysteries that weigh so heavily on our minds these days. For now, many mysteries remain unsolved about the strange and elusive past of human existence. However, as the years continue to tick by, we'll likely continue to solve many of these mysteries one by one, year after year. So guys, now it's your turn. Was there an archaeological discovery that particularly captivated you? What do you think of the professionals' decision to move Seahenge out of its original place? We're looking forward to your comments. If you liked today's video, please show us a thumbs up. Also, feel free to take the opportunity to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to stay up to date with all of our future uploads. Take care and see you next time.